Hey, what is going on, guys? It is Success here, back with another COD mobile video. So today, actually, what we're going to be talking about is the best HUDs or layouts or button layout, whatever you want to call it. This is what I'm talking about, your button layout. I'll show you guys a little bit more of a close-up. So basically, I'll be giving you guys a ton of advice, and I'll just straight up show you guys some really good HUDs or layouts for both phones and tablets as well. So right here, you can see I have my iPad Pro. But basically everything I show you for tablets will apply to literally any tablet, and then everything I show you for a phone will apply to literally any phone. So I'll make it super simple for you guys. So I'll actually start out by explaining what makes a good HUD, and then what we're gonna do is I'm gonna show you guys a good two-finger HUD. So if you guys look at my hands, 2 fingers is just playing like this. Then I'll show you guys a 3-finger, and a 3-finger is basically this, where you're playing with these 2 fingers and then your thumb. And then I'll show you guys a 4-finger HUD, which is basically all 4 fingers right here are involved. So if you guys actually play with 2 fingers, you might be wondering, like, why do I want to play with 3 or 4 fingers, or I'm really uncomfortable with that or anything like that. I'll actually be showing you guys a very comfortable way to hold the phone or the iPad or whatever your device is. And then I'll also be explaining why it's so beneficial to add another finger or 2 fingers into your setup. And then once again with the tablets, it's going to be like the same thing. I'll show you guys 2, 3, and 4. We'll try to go through really quick because I don't want this video to be very long. So I actually just put all the timestamps on the screen right now, so if you guys want to just jump straight to a certain part, you guys can see like at what time that part starts. It should be somewhere on the screen. I don't really know where I'll put it, but yeah. So the very first thing I actually want to get into is why specifically these HUDs are good, and some things you want to keep in mind when you're creating a good HUD. If you guys are wondering what HUD is HUD, which stands up for heads up display, and essentially all that is your button layout. So if you guys are curious how to actually access your HUD and edit it, all you have to do is press the settings cog. It kind of depends on what screen you're on, but on this screen that's on the top right, you press the settings. And then you go to controls, which it'll automatically put you at, and then you want to make sure you're in multiplayer mode or BR mode, depending on what you want to work on. But right now we're just going to be looking at multiplayer, and then you just press custom layout, and there you go, you have your HUD and everything you want with it. So to actually move buttons around, very simple, you just click and drag around. So to actually make buttons more transparent, which means you can't see them as well, you can just drag the little opacity slider down. So if I don't really want to see my shoot button, I can drag it down. If I want to see it really well, I can drag it up. And then the scale is just the same thing, it's down and up. One thing I would recommend is trying to get the buttons at a size where it's very easy to press them and you don't miss them a lot, but also not so big that it's taking up a lot of space. So if you're playing on like a tablet, most of the time you can just make them super big. If you're playing on a bigger phone, you can make them really big. But then obviously if you're playing on a little phone, you don't want every button to be super big. I actually think I max out almost every button because I think I can fit them pretty well, but that is something to keep in mind. Alright, so now let's actually look at what makes a good HUD a good HUD. So in Call of Duty, or really any shooter game basically, there's a couple things that you want to be able to do inside the game. So for Call of Duty Mobile, I actually ranked basically what is the most important thing you need to be able to do to the least important thing. Now, if we look at the list, the most important actions that you want to be able to do is number 1, you want to be able to shoot. So you need a shoot button, you want to be able to press that. The number 2 most important thing is you want to be able to aim around. Now this isn't a button, basically this is just you dragging your finger around to aim at people. Now this is really important because you got to be able to hit your target, so you got to be able to aim your finger, move it around and try to aim on people. The number 3 most important thing is you want to be able to have a joystick to move around, because obviously you don't want to stand in the same spot. The next thing is aiming down sights. This is really important so you can get that accuracy. When I say aiming down sights, essentially all it means is pulling your gun up and using either the iron sights, the red dot sight, the sniper scope, whatever it is, you want to be able to do that. The next ones are crouch and jump, but basically the crouch button is also the slide button, because if you're sprinting and you press crouch, you'll slide. But I have them at the same ranking just because it kind of depends on your playstyle. If you like to jump a little bit more, or if you like to slide and crouch a little bit more, really depends on your playstyle. So these two are pretty equal. The next one is reload. Now, obviously this is important, but I did put it a little bit lower on the list for a reason I'll get into very soon. The next one we have on the list is basically just everything else. I decided to just put everything else at number 7 because I didn't want to get too in depth. And everything else really doesn't matter too much because you can just kind of throw it wherever you want and it won't really affect your gameplay too much. There are some places that are better than others, but I'll be able to show you guys that. It's not really worth ranking every other button though. Now, if you're wondering why I decided to rank everything, it's because you only have so many fingers. So you have to be able to decide what you need to be able to do at once. So Call of Duty Mobile is actually a really cool game in the fact that it's very new player friendly. So you have a lot of people hopping on and they're able to get a grasp of the controls very well, very quickly. Now, one of the reasons that this game is actually so user friendly is because they actually have a button in this game that can literally knock out 3 of the top 4 actions or buttons that I explained. Now what I'm talking about is the bottom right shoot button on your HUD. Now for this button to actually do 3 things at once, it's important that in your shooting mode, you have your weapons on the ADS setting and not the hip fire setting. Now, if you get more fingers in, you probably want to put it over to hip, and I'll talk about that more soon. But if you want this one button to be able to do 3 important things, you need to have it on the ADS setting. That way, when you press and hold this button, it'll actually ADS, and ADS stands for aim down sights. And as I said before, that's just looking down your sights. It's able to aim around because you can actually drag the button around and you'll aim as you're shooting. And then the third thing is when you first press it, it'll start ADSing your gun as long as you have that setting on. So then if you're playing just 2 thumbs like most casual players have, that leaves the other thumb just to be able to move and use the joystick. So right there, you're using 2 fingers for 4 of the most important actions in the game. And then everything else like slide, jump, reload, and everything else, because you're only using 2 fingers in the 2-finger setup, can kind of go wherever, but I will show you guys kind of what my preferred 2-finger HUD is. All right, so now you're actually looking at my 2-finger HUD. Now with the ADS setting on, as I said, if you're using the bottom right shoot button, which I will circle right now so you guys can see what I'm talking about, you're able to bust out 3 of those really important actions, which is shooting, aiming around, and aiming down sights. And then with your left finger, you're able to use the joystick. And then if you ever want to scope in with a sniper, all you have to do is you press the scope in button, and then you're able to aim around with your bottom right finger and you shoot with your left thumb. So I'll kind of show you guys what that looks like just so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. And gyro is a whole nother beast I won't be talking about right now. Maybe I'll make like a best HUD for gyro, something like that in the future. But if you're just strictly playing 2 fingers, this is a amazing HUD because it leaves your right thumb to be able to crouch, jump, reload, and aim in sights or aim down sights. And then also it leaves your left thumb for more accurate sniping and shots like that with the left shoot button, and then obviously the left joystick. I'm actually a 4-finger player and I was able to use this 2-finger HUD very well. I was hopping into a gun game. It was pretty easy. I was able to catch a hold of it very quickly. So that kind of shows that it's very easy to use if I can go from 4 to 2 and still be able to perform pretty well. I'll also show you guys a screenshot of what this looks like for a battle royale, but again, battle royale is kind of just focusing on those buttons I talked about, and then every other button is just kind of put it wherever you want. One thing about the battle royale though is I would recommend if you're using the ninja class where you shoot the little like I don't know what you call it, like the dart, and then it pulls you forward. I would recommend putting that on the left. That way you can use your right finger to aim where you want to shoot that, and then you use your left thumb to actually like shoot that thing out. So that is one thing I'd recommend with the battle royale. Everything else though, honestly, throw it where you want, start playing, you'll get used to it. Most of the time it won't really be a problem, but again, if you want to see a 2-finger HUD for battle royale, here's a pretty good one. So the advantage of the 3-finger HUD over the 2-finger HUD is with the 2-finger HUD, you can't hip fire very well. Basically, you're going to use the bottom right shoot button like all the time. And if you have that ADS setting on, it's just going to automatically ADS. But sometimes you don't want to do that because ADSing is a little slow, or you want to hip fire someone, whatever the reason may be that you want to hip fire. Sometimes you want to do it. And the thing about the 3-finger setup is now you can turn off that ADS setting and put on hip fire for all your weapons, except snipers. I would recommend having it on snipers, and I'll tell you why soon. Because now what you're able to do is you can just shoot with your top left pointer finger. So if you look at the camera right now, I'm shooting with the left pointer finger like this, and then I'm able to aim down my sights with my right thumb. But if I don't want to aim down sights and I want to hip fire, all I have to do is just press the shoot button right now. And so if we go back to what we were talking about with this layout, what you're able to do at the same time is you're able to move with your left thumb, you're able to shoot with your top left pointer finger, and with your right thumb, you're able to aim in, crouch, slide. All the other important ones is mostly done with your right thumb. And then also you're obviously able to aim. But with the 3-finger layout, you're not going to really be able to aim around, so like aim and stuff and then slide at the same time, because you have to take your right finger off of like aiming around, and you have to press the crouch or the jump button. And so as you do that, you're not able to aim because your finger is obviously lifted up to do something else. And so obviously this layout is better and you're able to do more things now, like hip fire. You're kind of integrating a better hip fire strategy, but you're still not really able to have full freedom with your layout. All right, so now for 4 fingers. Now 4 fingers is personally where I think it's the sweetest spot. I think you're able to do basically everything at once, and it really ties everything in together without going really crazy with a ton of fingers. If you have a massive iPad and you want to set it down, you can play with a bunch of fingers. You can play with all 10, put buttons wherever you want, like a keyboard basically. But I think 4 fingers is where you're able to hold your phone really well, hold your iPad really well, and you're able to get the most out of it basically. So as I was showing you guys the list before, you guys will remember the 4 most important things is shooting, aiming around, moving, and aiming down sights. And then it goes slide and jump, reload, and everything else. So with this layout, you're basically able to do the top 5 things all at once. You could literally like tap your screen with 4 fingers at the same time, and you'd be able to do all 5 of those at once, basically. The only thing you really can't do with this HUD is you can't aim down the sights and slide or jump at the exact same time, but most of the time you don't have to be able to do that at the exact same time. You can do it just like tap tap, because the buttons are very, very close to each other, which kind of makes it so it's very quick. You can just like tap and tap and your finger barely moves. So as you get used to it, it's really simple. You're basically able to do 5 things instantaneously. So I've used this 4-finger layout on my iPad for literally ages across multiple different games. It works really well. As you get used to, it's really good. I started on my iPad and did it, and then I brought it over to my phone pretty simply. You get used to it really quick. Honestly, it takes a little bit of practice, but as soon as you get over that hump of like, okay, I gotta learn a new control layout, and you start getting more used to it, you're gonna like notice that your skills improve a ton, especially as you learn how you can use the buttons really well. Alright, so the way that I actually do claw is I normally have my phone plugged in and I have it on the left. This is just how I've kind of done it, and I'm most comfortable with this. You could do it on the right. It's just based on however you're kind of used to it. So what I do is I stick the charger in between if I make a peace sign, I stick it here, and then I just hold the phone comfortably like this, which should be pretty easy. Then what you want to do is take your pointer fingers and kind of curl it around this edge, as you guys can see. Like this, and this would be how you play 2 thumbs. Now if you want to play claw, all you do is you kind of shift the phone up a little bit to bring these fingers down, and then now all of a sudden you can see they're like here, and then you're able to tap with these fingers, as you can see. And then what buttons you should have here, it's honestly whatever button you think you press most. If you press the ADS button, the jump button, or the crouch button most, just kind of put the button you press most where your finger is comfortable. So like right here, my finger is comfortable, so I have my jump button here because I just jump a lot. That's kind of what I'm used to though. If I had to change it, I'd probably put my aim button there because I probably aim more. But as you can see, that's just where my finger rests. And then this finger rests here, so I put my shoot button there. And yeah, it's really as simple as that. Just hold the phone, see where your fingers kind of naturally like lay. So if you do this and throw the phone around and then grab it again, you can see where your fingers naturally go. And as you can see, jump button here, shoot button here. And then the rest of the buttons are thumbs, pretty easy to follow. And that's just how you kind of do it comfortably. It shouldn't strain your fingers too much. You kind of want them as high as you can get, because if you have them down here, you have to really curl your finger. As you can see, if you look at my right pointer, the more you go down, the more you have to strain it, the more this finger gets messed up, because you can see as I rotate, it brings this finger down. So really just kind of hold it like this, where your fingers are here, and then bring them down a little bit. Just like that. And then there are some cases too you can find on the internet. If you look up Mobile Gaming Corps or MGC, they actually sell cases where you can just have it has buttons right here, and you just press them, and then it's as simple as that. Alright, so one question I constantly get on my videos is like, how did you get that crosshair in the middle of your screen? Literally all it is I took the emote button and I put it in the center. Now as you can tell, it's not quite perfectly in the center. For whatever reason on the HUD, like the layout, like centered isn't actually centered in game. For me, I had to go to the right just a little bit. So basically what you can do is just go in game and then like put it there, and then if you see it's off, just go ahead and adjust it a little bit until you get it perfect. But literally all it is the emote button. Made it as small as I possibly could, so like this. And then I just put the opacity down just a tad, just so it's not like really big and bright in the middle. I would also like to recommend that I highly suggest switching the shoot button. So you put this one right here, the one that's like pointing from the bottom to the left. It's kind of slanted, as you can tell. I highly recommend putting this as your top left shoot button, and then taking the other one and putting it on the bottom right. And essentially what this does is it makes it so when you have the sniper rifle on ADS mode, it'll make it so when you press the top left shoot button, it'll start to aim in, and then when you release it, it shoots the gun. This is how a lot of pro snipers actually do it. If you don't know what I mean, just try it really quickly. Just make sure you have these 2 settings. You have this shoot button on the top left, and then you also have your sniper rifle on ADS mode. If you do those 2 things, go grab the DLQ-33, any bolt action sniper, press it, release it, it'll fire. You're gonna realize it's super good. And yeah, so that's one thing I do, and I think you can only do it if you're doing 3 fingers or above. With a 2-finger layout, I don't think you want to switch them. Again, you could try it. I don't think you want to do that though. I'm pretty sure that's just a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 finger technique. So you guys can see it now on the phone. This is basically how I integrate it into the phone, but I will also show you guys my iPad version, because there's a few small tweaks on the iPad version. If you guys want to copy it, feel free, but let's go ahead and look at that. Alright, so here it is. Again, it's essentially the same thing. I think the only things that are really different is I put the guns on the top right. Only reason I did this is because in other games I was able to do that, so I'm just really used to it. But the guns kind of can just go wherever you want. I personally like it on the top right. I think it's good on iPad, but if you're on a phone, it's going to be hard to fit it in that little spot, so you can have it in the middle and be fine. Reload button I personally have here, just because once again on the phone I can't put anything really above the aim, crouch, and jump button. So you could have it here as well. I just once again personally have it here just because I'm more comfortable with that. And then my shoot button is here, and then this shoot button is here. Reason I do that is because if I want to hit fire with my sniper, because I have the ADS setting on, I just have it here just as kind of an easy place to do it. So again, if you want to copy it, you can. But this button could go anywhere. Again, I just have it here. It's not the main one I use, though. I use this one. And then obviously the emote button in the middle, which I'm pretty sure I've already touched on. And then, yeah, so this is honestly my iPad layout. One thing I think I've hopefully mentioned in the video already, but most of the time I always have my opacity all the way down. The more you get comfortable with your layout, the more you get muscle memory, the more you want to decrease it just so you have more visibility. This is important so you can see players on the screen, because the buttons do take up a lot of space, a lot of vision, a lot of visibility. So you want to lower the opacity as you get used to it, or you can make the button super big like this one, and then you'll almost never miss it. So you can just go ahead and make the opacity really small. So I'm already super used to this layout, so I literally have everything like all the way down. I think I have my joystick a little bit higher. Everything else I pretty much have high, except for these buttons that pop up every once in a while, like the return a nade button or whatever it's called. This thing only pops up every once in a while, so I have it kind of high. And then my settings, map, all that stuff, top left, again, basically the same thing. And then my nade, which is always really hard to grab. I don't know, so yeah, then my nades are there. It's kind of hard to move it, like I was gonna kind of show it around, but yeah, right there. So that's basically the 4-finger HUD I use. Again, I'm not gonna touch on anything more because I've never actually really used 5 fingers or more, and I don't think you need to. So if you actually look at my hand cam, you can see this is why 4 fingers is so good. Because, I mean, controllers are the same thing. You're moving like this, you're aiming with this, and then you have just a bunch of other buttons, and then your thumb does a couple things, your left thumb does a couple things. But the biggest thing is, like, aiming, shooting, moving, aiming. You know what I mean? It's basically like that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope I was able to help you out. If you guys have any suggestions or anything for future videos, make sure to let me know. If you guys have a really cool HUD, make sure to let me know down below in the comments if you have any really cool ideas for people to kind of try or things like that. I've played a lot of mobile shooters. I was actually on Cloud9 as a professional mobile battle royale player for about a year. So if you guys don't know Cloud9, like Shroud was on Cloud. I'm not gonna go in depth on Cloud9, but I have a lot of experience with multiple games and kind of HUDs, and I've talked to a lot of people and studied this stuff for a while, so I have a pretty good understanding of how it works. So again, hope I was able to help you guys. If you guys want to see more in-depth stuff, gameplay, fun videos, I really do all kinds of COD mobile content. If you guys want to see that stuff in the future, make sure to drop a subscribe, or just, I said that weird, but make sure to sub down below. Drop a like if you did enjoy the video, and I'm out, guys. Peace.